Honorable George Papaconstantinou, former Minister for the Environment, Energy and Climate Change of Greece, held in Berlin, March the 7th of 2014. Honorable George Papaconstantinou, thank you for the honor of joining us at the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy here in Berlin and for the keynote and the speech. We would like to ask you a few questions in order to get your thoughts and opinions in some prominent issues. So your lecture was about from the crisis to creativity, new approaches in Greece and the European Union. So talking about cultural diplomacy, the first question is, what is your view on cultural diplomacy? Do you think cultural diplomacy is a tool to fight the crisis?
Well, let me try and interpret cultural diplomacy in a broad way, because I think that the crisis is economic, it's also political, and underneath there are certain institutional aspects which are problematic throughout Europe, certainly in my country. And in that sense, any kind of diplomacy which attempts to look at the underlying problems, at the way nations work, and we discussed some of this at the end of my talk, where people were saying that it's a question of the social compact in a country, whether that works or not, whether people are risk takers, whether the institutions help entrepreneurs to actually come forth with new businesses, they help them grow, whether you have created the administrative apparatus to provide capital for new businesses. All this is issues which I think can be discussed at a level throughout Europe that makes it for non-traditional diplomacy to be able to look at these things. If you take Greece, for example, some of our strengths are well known. It is tourism, it is culture, it is certain products which are very traditional to Greece. How you make these, you use them to rebrand the country and to show it in a much better light than the crisis-ridden country that you've seen in the last time. How you use this new brand to change the impression in certain Northern European countries which have focused on a mistaken image of Greeks not working enough or not doing what they should be doing, and we're not going to be lending them any more money. That's a very important part where cultural diplomacy can play a role.
Right. Thanks. And so,
do you believe it is especially the younger generation which is involved with the upcoming digital technology trends and services? If so, how do you think you could engage more people with these upcoming trends and services?
What the internet has allowed is for any young person, wherever they live, to be able to address a global audience. Notwithstanding the problems that we still have with that in terms of broadband access and the like, it is the case that you are no longer bound, and that this breaks down nationalities, this breaks down barriers which were there. So the ability to use, understand, see the potential of these new technologies is crucial. And in that sense, obviously, it is up to a younger generation to be able to carry the torch. And in that sense, you are already seeing it. If you talk to young people throughout Europe, you talk to young people in Greece, they feel much more part of a global community than the older generation is. Whereas the older generation would be very skeptical to some of the, or not even skeptical, not know what a new social medium is. Any person that is between the ages of 15 and 25 in Greece would immediately adapt to it. So the tools are there, and I think this is something that has its own dynamic. And as you get the infrastructure in place, as you get more content online, as that content is also more in different languages, because that's been a barrier for Greece, then it can play its own role, and obviously it's the younger people to carry it.
Definitely, thank you. During the peak of the crisis, Greece experienced a decrease in the number of tourists. Is the situation improving?
2013 was a great year. It was a recovery year for tourism. 2014 will be even better. We're expecting 2.5 million German tourists this year, only since we're in Berlin. It is part of that is a recovery from a low base, but part is because the product is so unique and it is now being hopefully better packaged as well. Not just the mass tourism that caters to organized groups, but also something which is more differentiated, because Greece is, of course, its antiquities and the sea, but it's not only that, and the sun. It's also a very diverse natural environment, which is there year-round for people. So if we manage to help differentiate this tourism product even more, connected not just to the culture but also to food, to traditions, and to kind of the Greek diet, then you have something which is unique and manages to rebrand the country, and then you can attract many more tourists.
Thank you. Do you think that Greece can still rely on tourism as a tool for sustainable growth?
Yes, but only to the extent that you link it to other things. In other words, tourism is one of the industries which directly and indirectly accounts for almost 15% of Greek GDP, because you have the hotels, you have the restaurants, you have the products which are behind, the agricultural products, and people are beginning to understand that you don't just offer something which is that you can find anywhere else. But if you are a Greek restaurant, if you are a Greek hotel, you've got to offer breakfast based on stuff that you can only buy and get in Greece. This was not obvious a few years ago. So if you link tourism, and if you look at other new things, for example, medical tourism, you have a growing European population which is looking for health-related services. Where better than in a country where you have the weather, which is there practically all year round, and the right climate, and then you can link it to healthy food, etc. So, yes, to the extent that you're not looking at the traditional tourism product, but you're looking at a very new product which spans much more of the activities that the country has to offer.
Thank you.
Thank you. With regard to sustainable development again, what do you think are going to be the future trends and the new approaches to creativity?
I, as an energy and environment minister, had the pleasure of helping my country look at the potential of renewable energy and to renew its energy mix, but also to use it as a true growth driver for the economy. And we've had in the last few years one of the biggest increases, for example, in solar produced and energy from the sun within Europe. Similarly with wind-powered energy, similarly with geothermal, where there's a huge potential. So sustainability is to my mind very much a growth driver and not just an issue of preservation of the environment. And I think that's the whole core of what we understand by sustainability anyway. And if you then link that to other activities which are kind of less obvious but have a very important role to play, such as waste management issues, waste to energy activities, where we are very far behind, you can see how these could generate growth, wealth, jobs in the country, which are very badly needed. And to go from a country which used to put its garbage on ships and then export it because they didn't know what to do with it, into one that can actually use it to generate wealth for the country. And there are now initiatives in that direction, some of which were started recently, which are very, very promising.
Thank you. As we know, European Union has very ambitious climate and energy targets by 2020. So what measures is Greece taking in order to meet these targets?
I think on a number of these targets, Greece is advancing reasonably well, not in all of them. The ones that are related to the energy mix, I think, is where we're doing the best. The ones that are related to some other climate change targets, less so. We still do not have, I have to say, a national consciousness around these things. And that's partly to do with the fact that we're coming out of a crisis. When you're coming out of a crisis, even the call for more renewables in your energy mix comes against the heavier cost that in a short run you will have from that, and the need, for example, to have your industry, which relies on more traditional energy, to survive. So my guess is, and a prediction if you will, that you will have a bit of a lull until you get out of the crisis, and then once you're out, then you will be able to push more to achieving those targets.
I see. Thank you so much for your time. It was an honor and privilege to
Thank
have
you.
you
It was
here
my
with
pleasure.
us today.